Gucci? Are we
we
part
we
of
are
Gucci gang?
we are good to start when you are.
Okay. I'm very ready for this. This is so Trina. I have a question before we really start.
Yeah, what's up?
You know how you were telling me all last week that your episode was going to make me feel uncomfortable?
Oh no, are you getting back at me?
It didn't
Is this it?
really make me feel uncomfortable. It just got me a little heated, and there's a lot of topics in there that I'm pretty passionate about.
Yeah.
This one is just gonna make you uncomfortable.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Rather than have commentary the whole time, I will occasionally stop the story in different phases.
Story?
It's a story. We'll get to that. I'll stop the story in different phases to just kind of gauge where you're at, where your mental state is at that particular time. It's not going to drive you insane by any stretch of the imagination.
I will admit, I do have a very fragile mental state right now, so this is going to be fun.
Okay. All right. If at any point you say, "Hey, Russ, this is too much," just let me know, okay?
Trina breaks down on the third episode of the podcast
Well,
that she and her friend put together. And this is it. This is the end.
Trina and Russ actually not friends at all and hate each other? ? Exposed. Okay. Welcome to the Poop Chute podcast. That was a very nice cold open. I'm Russ, and with me is Trina. Hello, Trina.
Hello, it is me. It is Trina.
We are on the third episode today, meaning that I am the host tonight. I have two major interests in my life. Two big ones. Well, three. One of them being video games. But the other two are Dragon Ball Z and wrestling.
Oh, no!
So, I'm thinking that this could be a little sub-series, Trina.
A sub-series?
I would like to break down a just horrendously bad angle in wrestling history and kind of break it down for you and, just gauge what you think and we could just talk about how the fuck it even got to television.
Is this the Vince McMahon fake death?
No.
Oh,
No.
That was funny.
Today, we are talking about a story that really breaks down to just two people. Number one, current Knoxville County Mayor Glenn Jacobs, also known as Kane, and
God.
the man who fucked his way to the top, Hunter Hearst Helmsley, also known as Triple H.
Oh no.
Today, we will be discussing the story of Katie Vick.
Oh no!
So, are you familiar with Katie Vick?
I am somewhat familiar, yes. I was a wrestling fan at one point.
Before we truly begin with this story, I would like to point out that a lot of what I will be commenting on and talking about comes from an article written for Pro Wrestling Stories by Benny J. Scala. The article is titled "Katie Vick Behind WWE's Most Shameful Storyline." So a lot of what I'm going to be saying is just parroting this article, but there's a lot of very good information in it, and I think the interesting part of this podcast is kind of our discussion about it more so than anything. So
Yeah. I'm gonna get you back next week for this.
Oh, I can't wait. Okay, so to kind of set this up a little bit, Hurricane Helms is a superhero wrestler. He is a small-ish kind of guy. He's played by a dude by the name of Shane Helms.
Mm-hmm.
So he's like a superhero. He comes out and he's like, his theme starts with like, watch out, there's a hurricane coming through. And him and the aforementioned Kane are in a tag team, and they are actually current WWE tag team champions at this time. So we zoom in on the October 7th, 2002 episode of Monday Night Raw. Triple H is backstage, and he beats the ever-living shit out of Hurricane. Which is bad. It's not a good situation.
I remember this episode.
So Kane they have a match later, Kane and Hurricane against, I do believe, Christian and Chris Jericho. Could be wrong on that. They have a tag team match defending their titles. Okay. Hurricane is out of commission, so Kane's just going to have to do it himself. Luckily, right, he succeeds, and he defends the title, and his music hits, and then Triple H comes out.
Look out, it's a hurricane.
Oh, look out, the hurricane coming through. They throw him, look out. They threw him through a glass pane.
Oh, fucked up.
So Triple H comes to the stage after he wins, and he accuses Kane of being a murderer, right?
No. Oh.
Kane is an interesting character.
Oh, yeah, no, I am 100% familiar with Kane. He was at one point my favorite wrestler, just because I liked the aesthetic. And you know how he started doing like movies and shit?
He was in See No Evil, yeah.
Yeah. So did you see the behind the scenes for See No Evil?
No.
He stayed in character the entire time. No. And I remember in the behind the scenes at one point, it's a scene that they're filming where he's going to attack one of the girls, and the director says cut, and he's still going in and like intimidating her, and then like a bunch of the crew members had to pull him off.
God damn it.
And I thought that was just who he was as a person at the time. I was very young when I saw See No Evil.
He's a nice man, from what I hear.
He's a really nice guy.
Has some really bad takes, but, you know.
Yeah, but, like, fucking just that part of his personality when he was playing Kane during, like, wrestling and stuff, I thought that's just who he was. Because the fact of the matter is that he was playing that outside of the ring, you know?
Yeah.
And I was just like, Jesus Christ, he's actually insane. I just think he's like a little bit too passionate of a, method actor.
I think it just has to do with the business.
Yeah.
There's kayfabe, which is the veil that wrestling has that kind of like is the separation between reality and showmanship.
Mm-hmm.
Kayfabe is like supposed to be, you want to keep that intact. And the kayfabe's dead for the most part these days because people are just like tweet whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
And, with the Hall of Fame the way it is, people are just kind of people at the end of their career. And it's whatever.
Except for Ric Flair. Ric Flair that is literally just him. He was playing himself the entire time.
His career's not over. He just signed with AEW, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, wait. He's still going? Isn't he, like, in his fucking 80s now?
I don't think he's wrestling, but he's still, like, a talent on screen right now.
Jesus Christ. There was a short period where, like, he, quote-unquote, retired, though, wasn't it?
Uh-huh. He got kicked in the face by Shawn Michaels, and then that was his retirement match. And then he went to TNA and was there for...
I had no idea
2 years.
He went to TNA.
Yeah.
I haven't been in the, like, wrestling sphere for... I want to say like close to 6 years now, so like I have no idea what's been happening.
AEW is good. Anyway, so Triple H talks about he says, "You're a murderer, Kane. You killed Katie Vick." And everyone's like, "What?" Like, what? Because as I was saying before, Kane is as a known murderer in storyline. He set his mom and dad on fire.
Yeah.
And the Undertaker's mom and dad. Well, I think he's half brother. It doesn't matter. the point is, it's just kind of weird, right? That it's well, rather than being weird, it's not weird that Kane would kill people.
What's weird?
We are at the end of phase 1 of this storyline. It's pretty innocuous so far, right? We are at the tip of the spear, and it's only going to get worse. So the next Monday, Kane, who has been talking for a while at this point, I'm pretty sure, says this, and I quote, "Katie Vick was a friend of mine, and Katie Vick is dead. But I didn't kill her. It was an accident, and I am not a murderer." See, Katie and I were friends about 10 years ago, back when I first started wrestling. In fact, this is Kane, by the way. Kane is supposed to be this mysterious, like, tabula rasa figure who doesn't say anything and is a demon, but he's saying, well, back when I started wrestling, okay? Remember that. In fact, she came to my first match, and she was probably the only one who cared that I was getting beat up. I cared about her, too. One night, Katie and I went to a party, and Katie had too much to drink, so I decided that I should drive her home. I wasn't that familiar with a stick shift, but Katie insisted that we take her car. It was dark, the road was slick as it was raining, and an animal jumped right in front of us. I swerved to avoid it, and the car spun out of control and went off the road. I broke my arm, but Katie was killed instantly. But it was an accident. Something that I have to live with, and something that I've thought about every day since. So the only thing that I have left to say is what I said to Katie's parents is, I'm sorry. It's heartfelt, right? Kind of weird that Kane is saying this. Me, Kane, the wrestler, not the demon, got into a car accident 10 years ago, and a woman died. What the fuck, right? So we're at the end of phase 2 now. It's getting a little weird. It's not like, horrible yet, but it's like, it's a little strange that Kane is in this situation, right?
Right. I know where this is going.
So Triple H comes out. "Oh, boo-hoo, Kane, boo-hoo. You got me all choked up with your touching story, Kane. But since you're out here bearing your soul, why don't you tell the world the whole truth? Why don't you tell the world that when the people from the party were questioned, they all said you were drinking too, Kane?" That's how Triple H talks. "Why don't you tell everyone how, when the police came to the accident scene, there were empty beer cans in the car and all around the crime scene? And more importantly, Kane, why don't you explain to the world how, when the doctors did the autopsy of Katie Vick's body, the doctors found your semen?" Oh,
I remember this arc as it was happening. I want to say I was like 12? No.
2002.
2002. I was 7. I was 7 years old when I saw this arc.
This is not the place to tell this story. This is not the WWE wrestling I don't think is the place to tell this story.
The casket match, dude. The casket match was so fucked.
But Triple H isn't done. That's right, Kane. Katie Vick was more than a whole lot more than a friend to you, wasn't she, Kane? The fact is, you loved Katie Vick. You were madly in love with Katie Vick. The problem is, Katie Vick liked you. She didn't love you, Kane. Katie didn't share that special feeling you had. And come on, Kane, honestly, who can blame her? Look at you. Who could realistically love a burnt-up freak like you?
No.
Now, Kane, I know you weren't charged with murder. I know you weren't even charged with manslaughter. But, Kane, facts are facts. And the fact is, Kane, the fact is that this all points to you. You know it. I know it. The whole world knows it. You killed Katie Vick. Kane, the question I have is, on that night, did you, while she was still alive, or did you wait to do it when she was dead? Okay, so we have reached phase 3. It is uncomfortable.
Yeah, didn't the writer, like, the guy who wrote the fucking whole story for this. Didn't he get like a lot of shit for it?
We'll get to that. I have a whole like behind the scenes section as well.
Yeah.
But this is how it's airing on television. And on a side note, I know anyone who's listening to this, I know wrestling is predetermined. I'm aware. It is a play. It's like I'm watching a play, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the enjoyment I get out of wrestling. As much as I don't like him as a person, Max Landis put it very well in a video that he made.
Mm-hmm.
Wrestling, like when you watch wrestling, you're not watching a wrestling show. You're watching a television show about a wrestling show.
Max Landis is a whole different problem.
we don't have time to get into him.
No, I know, but like seriously.
But I think he put it extremely well there. Mm-hmm. It's not, you're not watching a show that is like wrestling. You're watching a show about wrestling, and it's great. This is not, you shouldn't be telling this story. We're already pretty bad into it, and it does get worse. But,
oh no, I'm fully aware of how bad it gets. But the other like terrible thing about this is like I'm sure a lot of people in 2002 going into 03, which is what I'm pretty sure what the timeline was for this story. I'm fairly certain a lot of the adults knew that the wrestling was fake.
Yeah.
The kids didn't.
No, that's a very good point.
I didn't think it was fake.
Mm-hmm. I think around this time it was TV14.
I was 7! I was half that!
Not terribly long before this was like Hulk Hogan talking about eating your vitamins and praying to Jeebus.
Oh, God, yeah.
The WCW had just gone under at this point.
Yeah.
And so WWE is kind of the only thing going. So like if you wanted to watch wrestling, you had to watch shit like this. And that's why a lot of people say that this era of wrestling is like probably one of the worst. Like 2001 to like 2020 is pretty fucking bad. It has never been as good as it was again, really.
It's one of the reasons why I dropped it after a while.
Understandable.
I'm surprised I was like I'm surprised I wasn't barred from watching it after that arc because like my dad watched it too, you know.
No, I get you. So you may be thinking to yourself, dear viewer, how could this possibly get worse? How could a necrophilia angle get worse?
I know how it gets worse.
How about a fucking dramatic recreation?
No.
So Triple H,
you fucker, you motherfucker.
he's on, I think, the next episode of Raw, and Jonathan Coachman comes up to him, and he's like, "What is wrong, Triple H? Why are you doing this to Kane? Why are you doing this?" And he's like, "I just want to show." I'll read it verbatim. Because I want to show the world what kind of a man Kane is. I called him a murderer, but he's a whole lot worse than that. He's some kind of twisted psychopath, some kind of sick freak. Believe me, only a man like Kane could do the type of thing I'm going to show you on this videotape. Now that I gotta warn you, this is not for the squeamish. Roll the footage.
Don't roll the footage.
You don't have to.
Completely redact the entire story. This did not need to exist. I saw like a fucking thing from JR about this whole thing. Mm-hmm. Being like, you know, this is the most shameful shit for wrestling.
It's pretty bad.
And did Triple H ever like talk about this after? You know what? You're probably gonna get to it.
I'll get to it. I have a whole section here.
Oh god.
Okay, so I'm gonna just break down in very brief terms. Well, not brief, but you know, we're gonna break it down. This is fucking horrible at this point. Mm. But Triple H, the video opens with a casket. And looming through a doorway is a very obvious Triple H in a Kane mask.
Why, Russ? Why? We talk about Andrew Wakefield for like a section of my episode, and now you're like fucking.
I was planning this one before last episode, to be honest.
You bitch.
Okay.
Hey, this is Editing Trina. I just wanted to pop in for a moment to give a quick warning that the next 60 seconds is a retelling of simulated necrophilia that Triple H performs on a mannequin. If you don't want to hear the gross details of the story, then you probably want to skip the next minute. Otherwise, enjoy everyone's absolute discomfort.
So Triple H, as Kane, says, "You know, Katie, you feel kind of stiff. And speaking of stiff..."
No!
So he takes off. There's a mannequin, for the record. But
I know.
He takes off the mannequin's panties. He goes, "I love the smell of formaldehyde in the morning." And he sniffs them.
Russ.
So Triple H is shirtless, pantless, in this fucking coffin. We're almost done, Trina. We're almost done with this segment.
Get me out of here.
So Triple H is butt ass naked. I think he has his pants on, maybe. And he's like fucking the mannequin.
Full raw dogging it.
And then he pulls up his hand and he has like this goo in his hand. He said, "Ugh, I screwed your brains out." So
and they aired it.
They
aired it.
This isn't a storyline that like Bruce Pritchard is talking about on his podcast, right? This is television. Like, this was on air. And I
love showing my kids simulated necrophilia.
I just cannot believe that this got through a lot of people. So it ended the following week, luckily, with something that's completely unimportant. They try to like play it as like a ventriloquist thing, and they don't talk about it again, which is for the best, to be honest. But like you said, this got to broadcast, and it boggles my fucking mind to think about. Not only did this get past, like, a room of writers? I mean, I imagine there were some people who were like, "This is probably not a good idea."
I do it anyway.
I fucking put it on television.
Writers and censors.
Yeah. Triple H was naked. I read in this article. Triple H was actually, like, full ass out.
This should not have been aired.
No. Not by a long shot.
Children were watching that.
Screwed your brains out.
Screwed your brains out.
So, Bruce Pritchard, let's talk about him, because he was talking on his podcast about the storyline. Bruce Pritchard is this big backstage guy. He was like the lead of creative for a really long time. Mm-hmm. He says, and I quote, "You ever have those moments in your life where there are things that are so traumatic that you block them out entirely?" This is really and truly one of those moments.
Mother of God.
So let's start with what this angle was originally supposed to be, because it obviously wasn't supposed to be this. It just kind of mutated and became this. There was a wrestler in developmental called Scott Vick. Scott Vick seemed like he had some juice to him. And so to introduce him onto the main roster, what they were going to do was Kane or Triple H or somebody, right, would have accidentally killed Katie Vick in some way, and Scott Vick would be coming in to avenge her, right? That, I mean, while it's sort of an outlandish angle, right, it's still like within the realm of wrestling. But Scott Vick is a horrible fucking wrestler. Mm-hmm. And so Bruce Pritchard's like, fuck, like, we've already teased Katie Vick. Because, yeah, like, at this point, they had already said the name. They're like, we can't just drop this. People are going to be wondering what the fuck this is. In hindsight, probably should have. But they're like, okay, well, what can we do with this? Okay,
Kill her and make her body violated.
well, let's put it on Kane, all right? It's Kane's girlfriend, whatever. So Bruce Pritchard goes on to say, it was during a time Vince was big into, we need more soap opera. We need more stories behind the characters. So he started creating stories. And it came to the story of what if Kane accidentally didn't murder her but was driving, and oh my god, then the drinking, and it just grew. It's another glowing example of don't suggest or say things in jest that you don't want to have show up on the show. This is not the only example of shit like this happening.
Oh no, far from. Far from.
That's why I kind of want to turn this into a whole series in itself. Like, of just me breaking down horrible shit. And
I'm remembering another like awful story arc, and I think it had like Mankind. That cage match.
it wasn't a bad angle. We could get into this very briefly. So Mick Foley, who played Mankind, was a fucking absolute insane person. And him and Undertaker had a match at King of the Ring one year.
Yep.
Where Taker and Mankind were on the top of the cage, and Mick was just like, throw me off. And Taker was like, what? And so he tosses him onto the announce table, and you fucking see his body like bounce. And it's so fucked. And
it's visceral, yeah.
It's a phenomenal fucking match. It's really, really good if you like that kind of wrestling. But Mick Foley has gone on record and saying like he hated that match for a really long time. Because he couldn't go anywhere without people bringing it up, and I get that. It turned into, it's like the one thing that people latch onto about, Hell in a Cell. People are like, you see Mick Foley drop off the thing, and then he went through the thing and then landed on a bunch of tacks, and you see his tooth in his nose. So, moving on, they decide to shoot the vignette, and they have like a small crew in this fucking Nashville funeral home. And Triple H and Bruce Pritchard are thinking, we need to make this goofy. It needs to be as goofy as humanly possible. Or, like, we cannot make this a serious thing. And, like, they're trying to make it as funny as possible, like, to where no one in their right mind would take this seriously. It's already pretty fucked to begin with. But, like, I appreciate that they were like, we have to make light of this somehow. Like, it's really heavy. We need to bring it back. But Vince, who's the final decision maker in most things, he's like, just make it real. It needs to be get naked. It needs to be more serious. Fun fact, very fun fact. This fact is extremely fun, Trina. A wake was going on in the next room over while they were filming.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that part at all.
There was a dead body in the room over. Oh. And people were grieving. While Triple H was balls deep in a mannequin.
How did the funeral director feel after seeing that was done in their funeral home?
See, that one, I don't know. I have no idea. Because it's just like, I can't imagine he was... Well, I don't even know if he would have watched it. Because they're just like, we're going to pay to be in here.
They, like, everyone knows, like, what funeral home it's at. They say it, like, they say it on the show, don't they?
No, but
people found out after. Which I would assume that, like, news of that gets around, you'd think that the funeral director, assuming they weren't already old and are still alive, to hear that kind of news, you'd think they would say something, right?
Yeah.
Right next to a dead body, like a real dead body.
So
I screwed your brains out.
so they shoot the one that went to air first. They do that one first, which was kind of Vince's MO. We'll do the one that no one wants to do, and then we'll do the one that everyone else wants to do after. And then he just says we don't have enough time. We have to go with the first one. So Vince is like,
a decision I'm sure he regrets.
oh, I don't know.
This is Vince McMahon we're talking about. Like, that's not kayfabe. He's just an asshole.
So yes, he's a total dickhead. So they do that, and Vince is like, we don't have time. You're not gonna get any better than that. And so he's like, we're packing up, we're leaving. Hunter's like, we can't do that. Like, Triple H is like, no, we can't film that one. So Bruce Pritchard continues, we went back to the building, delivered the tape, and I remember going in, grabbing Kevin Dunn and saying, hey man, you need to take a look at this because I think we kind of crossed the line.
Yeah. Yeah, you sure did.
So Triple H comes into the truck and says, man, you gotta look at this. I don't know. Vince loves it. He wants to air it. Kevin Dunn, who is kind of the production manager, he is the production manager at this time. He looks at it, goes to Vince's office and says, Vince, I don't think we can air it. Now Vince is pissed because Bruce Pritchard has told him it's not good. Triple H has told him it's not good. And now he feels like they went and got Kevin Dunn and are all ganging up on him, telling him his idea is not good. And so he's going to prove them wrong, and they aired it. So this decision, all of this, comes down to Vince McMahon decision making. And so now I go to you, Trina. I want your opinion on this. I think we've heard it throughout the entirety of this, but overall, what are you feeling right now?
Like I am currently curdling milk in my stomach.
I'm also feeling that. I took an antacid though, so it should be working soon.
It's just like a really, it's leaving like a really bad taste in my mouth, really sour.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I'm tight in the stomach because like, while I know this was all staged, no one is actually dead, and it's just a story, that should never have been on air. It should never have gone to television. And I'm surprised that the show was able to keep going after that.
I think it was, well, you got to remember this too. Raw at the time was a huge moneymaker. And so the network didn't want to drop them. But I imagine what happened next, because I don't have anything past this, for like timeline wise. I imagine what happened after this. The network gave them a note, and they said, listen, we're getting a lot of backlash for this. You cannot continue this angle. You got to tone it down. There's no way you can do something like that ever again. Because the angle ended the next week. Like it ended right then.
They did something like that again, but in the future.
Like, what do you mean?
It's not as like awful. The illegitimate son arc.
No, that was not nearly as bad.
No, but it was still bad.
It's stupid. I wouldn't call it like distasteful. It wasn't distasteful.
It was Hornswoggle.
It was Hornswoggle. It wasn't supposed to be Hornswoggle, but it was. It was. I mean, I guess it was a little distasteful. I've been watching or listening to the Deadlock podcast, which is a really good wrestling podcast. They break down like whole episodes of like Raw and SmackDown and WCW stuff and TNA stuff. And if anyone's interested in what I'm talking about, they're very funny gentlemen, and they are very knowledgeable about a lot of wrestling stuff. So I do suggest you go listen to them. But in the episode, I'm just now listening to the episode where they talk about Vince's illegitimate son, and like it's much further up the timeline than this. It's like 2006, 2007, I want to say. and shit was like really starting to tone down. And it's not as bad as I had remembered it being. It's mostly just him being like, who did I fuck? Who did I fuck and make a who did baby? Which baby came out of your mom's pussy? Ah. It's a lot of that. It's not necrophilia.
No. Oh my god. Wait, hold on though. Do you remember the whole like Piggy James angle?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
I mean, that's like a lot of that's a lot of early 2000s like divas, like women's wrestling shit though, because they treated the women's wrestling division as just catty bitches.
Yeah, and that being a thing for as long as it was just that got uncomfortable after a bit, because it was it was longer than a week. It was like a few weeks of them just fucking with her.
Yeah.
And with no payoff, honestly. So she just got really like fucked up over it.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're like, okay, you win.
There was segments when Natalia first started wrestling. Mm-hmm. Natalia Neidhart, the daughter of Jim the Anvil Neidhart, one half of the fucking Hart Foundation. When she was introduced to the main roster, her gimmick was she would fart. She would be in a situation where she's like socially talking to someone, and then she would just fart.
Fucking rip ass. Yeah, it was so funny.
And I think whenever I think about angles like that, I just think about that image of Vince McMahon laughing his fucking ass off. Maybe this is controversial, what I'm about to say, mm-hmm. but I would say for the most part, the past few years and the past few decades, rather, it has literally just been Vince McMahon playing with his action figures and then putting it on national television.
I mean, that's really fucking accurate.
Like, he just he has other people kind of tell him, like, maybe we should do this, maybe we should do this. And sometimes it's really compelling. But then other times, it's like, what if Triple H fucks a corpse and everyone's like, what the fuck did you just say?
Fucks a corpse.
What if we call her Piggy James? Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
What if I treat all the women in the wrestling women's wrestling division like toys, like sex toys? Like,
what if I make Trish Stratus bark like a dog?
Oh my god. Yeah, no. The men's like wrestling, like the general wrestling fucking part, it was just action figures, but the women's wrestling league, that was
pocket
all
pussies.
That was pocket pussy. That was all fetishism.
What if Trish Stratus has my wife in a wheelchair?
What if I make people eat my ass?
What if I have people rim
live
me?
on stage?
Why don't they give me a rim job?
What an awful like gimmick that whole thing was.
The Vince McMahon Kiss My Ass Club. Let's see who's real quick before we stop recording because I don't have anything else. We got William Regal, Jim Ross, Shawn Michaels, Shane McMahon, Mick Foley, and Hornswoggle. They're people he tried to get to kiss his ass. Fucking weird. Steve Austin, he's like, suck the shit right out of my ass, Steve.
I want you to tongue punch my fart box.
It's all I ever wanted.
It's all I ever wanted. I want everyone in my roster to just put their tongue in there.
Felch my damn asshole.
Oh. No. God, he was always so sweaty.
Extremely.
Gross and nasty. Terrible and awful.
Yeah. I hope you guys are not too upset with the shorter episode today. It's just kind of a shorter topic. I don't know why I wanted to talk about it. I don't really have a reason.
I mean, I definitely got something next week. I have decided now.
Oh God. I think it's fascinating, I will say. I think it's a fascinating look into, like, the history of wrestling and, like, how weird shit was.
Mm-hmm.
And still is, to an extent. But yeah, I think my next topic is going to be a little bit more reserved than that. Feel free to take revenge next week, but I will not be taking revenge the following.
We can end the feud there.
Yeah, because we don't need to snowball this any more than it needs to be.
Yeah, no, for real.
And I want episodes that don't make people uncomfortable, or that we don't have to put a content warning at the start of the show.
Oh yeah, you're gonna have to record one before I can fully edit this.
I know.
You fuck.
You did this. You did this.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm gonna go cry at the bottom of the stairs.
No, we have to talk about our socials first, Russell. Russ, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter at undead_samurai on Twitter, and at Twitch you can find me undeadsamurai_. Trina, where can people find you, Trina?
Well, Russ boy, I'm glad you asked. You guys can find me. I'm just gonna share my card from now on instead of just listing all my social medias. I'm Stinky Trina in most places, but if you want to check out everything that I do, you can check out my card, and it's stinkytrine.card.co. That's stinkytrine.carrd.co. And you can basically see everything that I do online there, get all the links to my socials and stuff, and maybe check out my artwork.
Wow, commission Trina, she's good. She does all my art.
I do. I'm your channel artist.
Yes,
I'll kill you.
Oh no, Trina has a knife.
I do. I'm gonna get you.
No.
You can't run from me.
The blade, it stings. Oh.
I didn't even stab you yet. Here I go.
Oh. It stings.
I carve a jack-o'-lantern face in your tum-tum.
Put a little tea candle in there.
Yeah, it goes right in the belly button. Here we go. Russ, the tea candle is getting a little bit brighter than usual. Russ.
Oh, it was dynamite, Trina. Grabs Trina by the shoulder. You're going down with me, Trina.
Now let me go!
Hey, this is Trina. Thank you again for listening to the Poop Chute podcast. Alongside our individual social media pages, you can also follow the podcast itself. You can find us on Twitter at PoopChuteCast, and the podcast is available on YouTube and Spotify. A special thank you to TuneTank.com for providing our music. The track you are currently listening to is Lazy Bones by Vital. I'll be back next week as host, and we hope to see you back in the chute. Take care.